Welcome back to the deep dive. Ever stop to think about air conditioning? I mean, especially with how things are warming up. Today, we're really diving into something that, well, it cools pretty much everywhere, the global air conditioning equipment market.
Mhm.
We've got this really detailed report here from Cognitive Market Research. It focuses on the growth, the regional trends, fascinating stuff. Our mission, like always, is to cut through all that data, pull out the key insights for you, and basically give you the shortcut to understand just how big this industry is and where it's headed. It's surprisingly huge.
It really is. Essential is definitely the right word. And this report makes it clear right away it's not just the size, but how fast it's growing consistently. The overall value, it's more than just a number. It tells a story about how, basic climate control has become worldwide.
Absolutely. And significant. Well, that almost doesn't cover it when you see the actual figures. The report pegs the global market at $106.546 billion back in 2021.
Right.
But here's the kicker. It's projected to hit $125.943 billion by 2025. And then, get this, $175.954 billion by 2033. That's a compound annual growth rate, CAGR, of 4.27%.
And for a market already that big, 4.27% compounded year after year, that's serious expansion. We're talking billions added every single year.
Right. It's a steady, powerful climb, not just some temporary spike. Okay, so that's the big picture. Huge scale.
Mhm.
Now let's zoom in a bit. The regional breakdown. This is where it gets really interesting. Where's the growth really concentrated?
Well, if you look at Asia Pacific, it was already the biggest market in 2021. We're talking $36.119 billion. And the forecast, it's expected to basically double to over $63 billion by 20. China's obviously a major player. Its market was over $11 million in 2021, heading towards nearly $19 billion by 2033. But India's story is particularly striking.
Okay, tell me about India.
India's growth is just exceptionally strong. It went from about $5.9 billion in 2021 and is projected to hit over $12.5 billion by 2033. That gives it the highest HGR mentioned anywhere in this report, 6.543%.
6.5%. What's driving that specifically?
It's a mix of things, really. Rapid urbanization, a growing middle class, more disposable income, and frankly, rising temperatures. AC is becoming less of a luxury, more of a necessity. It really reflects a big societal shift happening there.
Makes sense. And it's not just China and India, right? The report mentions others.
Oh, yeah. Japan, South Korea, Australia, all significant contributors showing solid growth. Plus, you've got Southeast Asia, Taiwan. The growth is pretty broad across the region. It really cements Asia-Pacific as the leader.
Okay, so from Asia-Pacific's boom, let's shift over to North America. Still a very substantial market, right?
Definitely. Over $30 billion in revenue back in 2021, and it's forecast to climb to almost $47 billion by 2033. The CAGR there is a bit lower, just under 3.8%, but still very healthy growth for such a mature market.
And the U.S. dominates that figure, I assume.
It does. The U.S. accounted for $24.5 billion of that $30 billion in 2021, projected to reach over $37 billion by 2033. It's driven a lot by replacement cycles, ongoing demand. It's a stable core market.
But Canada's growth rate stood out to me in the report. It seemed quite a bit faster.
You're right, it is. Canada's jumping from about $4.3 billion in 2021 to over $8 billion by 2033. That's a CAGR 5.416%. Pretty significant acceleration there.
Yeah, especially when you compare it to Mexico. That was much more modest growth, wasn't it?
It was. Mexico's going from roughly $1.2 billion to $1.6 billion over the same period. That's a CAGR of about 2.4%. Still growing, but a different pace entirely.
Interesting contrast within North America. Okay, let's cross the pond to Europe. What's the picture there?
Europe generated over $26 billion in 2021. The projection is for that to reach over $40 billion by 2033. The CAGR is around 3.685%. So maybe not the explosive growth of some parts of Asia, but very consistent expansion. Demand is widespread.
And who are the big players in Europe?
Yeah.
Germany, France.
Exactly. Germany leads, going from just over $5 billion in 2021 towards $7.7 billion by 2033. France is also strong, about $3.8 billion, moving towards $6 billion. The UK, Italy, Russia, Spain, they're all showing solid multi-billion-dollar markets with steady upward trends.
So widespread adoption across the continent. Any other notable European markets?
Yeah, the report mentions Sweden, Denmark, Switzerland, all contributing billions back in 2021 and growing steadily. Even, smaller markets like Luxembourg and the rest of Europe grouped together show consistent demand. It's pretty pervasive.
Okay, let's head south. South America. What does the report say there?
South America came in at over $7.3 billion in 2021. It's projected to hit nearly $12.8 billion by 2033. That's a healthy CAGR of 4.7%. It really signals that AC adoption is becoming much more standard across the region.
And which countries are leading that charge?
Brazil and Argentina are big ones, as you'd expect, but also Colombia, Peru, Chile, they're all showing good growth. The CAGRs range from about 4.2% up to over 5.2%, so it's pretty broad-based growth linked to economic development, improving living standards.
Right. Now, the Middle East. Given the climate, you'd expect strong growth, and the numbers seem to back that up. A high AGR there.
Very high, actually, 5.076%. The market was about $3.3 billion in 2021, expected to grow to nearly $6 billion by 2033.
What's driving that particularly high rate? Is it just the heat?
Well, the heat is obviously a huge factor, but it's also tied closely to really rapid infrastructure development, big construction projects, population growth in cities. Saudi Arabia, UAE, Turkey, Egypt are the leaders, and the UAE actually has the highest CAGR in the region, over 6.1%.
Wow, 6.174%. It's quite something.
It really highlights how fundamental AC is to modern life and development in that part of the world.
And Qatar, other Middle Eastern countries also adding to that growth.
Yes, Qatar and the rest of Middle East category also showed steady expansion. It's just a critical technology there.
Okay, last stop on our world tour, Africa.
Africa generated about $3.6 billion in 2021. The projection is for that to increase to over $6.3 billion by 2033. The CAGR is 4.6%, so starting from a smaller base compared to other regions, but still a significant growth rate, showing increasing access and demand.
And who are the main players within Africa?
Nigeria was the leader in 2021 with about $1.6 billion. South Africa followed closely at around $1.4 billion. Both are showing strong upward trends. As economies develop, you see greater penetration of AC.
Okay, so we've covered the globe. Let's try and synthesize this a bit. What does all this mean for you listening?
Well, it means this global air conditioning market is just on this undeniable, massive growth path. Asia Pacific, especially India and China, are really feeling a lot of it. But you also see strong drivers like Canada, the UAE. It's a complex picture. But the overall trend, accelerating growth, wider reach, bigger impact across all sorts of economies. Absolutely. These figures, they just underscore really consistent fundamental growth and, evolving opportunities across the whole sector. And it does raise a bigger question for you to maybe think about. With temperatures fluctuating, economies growing, how is this massive adoption of AC going to reshape things? Think about urban planning, our energy grids, even just our daily routines in the next decade or two. It presents both opportunities and, let's be honest, some real challenges too.
That's a really interesting thought to leave things on, how this essential technology shapes our future. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the AC market today. We hope you keep exploring these fascinating links between technology, the economy, and just everyday life.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're plunging into a topic that, well, it's far more complex and globally significant than you might first think: the rapidly evolving air conditioning equipment market. This isn't just about keeping cool, it's really about understanding some profound global shifts, how climate change is reshaping our cities, the tech leaps changing how we live. Our mission here, like always, is to really distill the key insights from the sources we've looked at, giving you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed on this really crucial topic.
Yeah, and it's interesting because air conditioning seems simple, right? Just a box blowing cool air. But the market dynamics underneath, wow, they're surprisingly complex, and they really do mirror these broader global trends, energy use, environmental rules, how we're all adapting to a changing planet.
Okay, so let's unpack this then. What's really driving the demand for AC? As we sort of peeled back the layers, the most immediate thing, and maybe not surprising, is just the relentless march of rising global temperatures. That plus massive urbanization. Our sources really hammer this home. Climate change means higher temperatures, more heat waves, more severe ones too. And this has rapidly shifted AC from being, a luxury item to basically an essential survival tool in many places. It's not just comfort anymore. It's public health, economic stability. It's fundamentally reshaping cities, energy grids, especially in those fast-growing urban areas across Asia, Africa, Latin America. Think homes, offices, shops, factories. People are realizing controlled indoor climate isn't just nice, it's essential. For comfort, sure, but also productivity, even just breathing cleaner air.
That point about comfort becoming a basic need, that's incredibly profound, isn't it? It's just astonishing how quickly that shift has happened, from luxury to necessity. Especially when you think about the sheer numbers moving into megacities like in India or Nigeria. Are the sources telling us anything specific about regions or maybe demographics where the shift is most dramatic? Or where the lack of AC is becoming a real crisis?
Oh, absolutely. The sources point right to those rapidly expanding urban centers you mentioned. And that very push for comfort in these growing cities, well, it leads us straight to the next huge driver, the sheer explosion in new construction and real estate development globally. We're talking about unprecedented large scale infrastructure expansion in emerging economies, smart homes, massive office complexes, retail spaces, industrial sites. All of this just fuels HVAC installations. It's almost hard to grasp the scale of new building in, say, Shenzhen or Dubai. Places like Asia Pacific and the Middle East are seeing a real boom in AC adoption. It's driven by these big, ambitious smart city projects and also new building codes demanding energy efficiency. And beyond just new buildings, there's a third powerful driver we found, the increasing demand for energy efficient appliances, even for replacing older units. Consumers today, they're not just looking at the price tag, they're becoming more eco-conscious. So you see this growing preference for things like inverter-based ACs, smart ACs, eco-friendly ones. These inverter systems are key, really. They control the compressor speed precisely, so they use way less power than the old on-off type units. And governments all over are actively encouraging this. They're offering, tax rebates, subsidies, updating those energy labels you see on appliances. This really pushes manufacturers to innovate, not just for market share, but really to meet this new baseline expectation from consumers.
That's such a crucial point. And if you connect that to the bigger picture, well, it's not just about saving a few bucks on your energy bill or even hitting national green targets. It fundamentally changes the strain on energy grids, especially during those peak heat events we talked about. It actually redefines what energy demand even looks like for whole countries as they develop and, cool down.
Right. But as we dug deeper, it became pretty clear this booming market isn't exactly smooth sailing. There are some significant headwinds. In fact, some of the challenges are really reshaping the industry in maybe unexpected ways. The first major restraint is just the high initial cost and the operational cost, too, sometimes. Okay, so those fancy energy efficient features, they promise long-term savings and they often deliver. But that upfront investment, it remains pretty high, and that's a huge barrier, particularly for low and middle income households, small businesses too, especially in developing regions. It limits how fast these better units can be adopted.
Yeah. Now that raises a vital question about accessibility, doesn't it? Our sources suggest this tension, this trade-off between efficiency and affordability, it's one of the market's biggest dilemmas. It's creating what some are calling a cooling gap, where the people who most need AC because of the heat are often the ones least able to afford the high upfront cost of these modern efficient units. That feels like more than just a market challenge. It feels like a social equity crisis just waiting to get worse.
Exactly. And then you layer on the environmental and regulatory pressures, which are substantial. Traditional ACs, for a long time, use refrigerants called HFCs, hydrofluorocarbons. If they leak, and they do, they are incredibly potent greenhouse gases, like sometimes thousands of times worse than CO2, which is why you have these global agreements, the Kigali Amendment being the big one, pushing really hard for greener alternative, low GWP alternative. GWP, that's global warming potential, basically how much heat a gas traps compared to CO2. So low GWP means a much smaller climate footprint. We're talking about switching to things like R32, R290, even Coeurose itself is a refrigerant in some systems. But this isn't just swapping out one chemical for another. It forces companies to reinvent the compressor technology, the whole system architecture, to handle these new refrigerants safely and efficiently. They often operate at different pressures, have different properties.
Right. It really highlights the complexity for the manufacturers. I mean, shifting refrigerant sounds simple maybe on paper, but I can only imagine the R&D headaches, the capital investment needed. They have to completely overhaul production lines, system designs, just to meet these new global standards. Are the sources giving us any sense of the cost burden of that specific hurdle for these companies?
They definitely flag the added costs and the significant supply chain complexity that these changes bring, which actually leads us right into another major challenge, these recurring supply chain disruptions and component shortages. We're talking about critical parts, semiconductors, compressors, other key electronics. They've been hit with problems pretty consistently since the pandemic started. And these shortages, well, they lead to frustrating production delays, higher costs, especially hitting hard during the summer peaks when demand just surges. Plus, you still have geopolitical issues, shipping bottlenecks. They keep messing with inventory levels globally. It's a constant headache for manufacturers and ultimately for consumers, too. So, okay. You've got these powerful drivers pushing the market forward, but also these really significant challenges pushing back. What does it all mean for where the industry is actually heading? Our sources point to some pretty compelling trends that are actively redefining the landscape. First up, no surprise really, is the huge adoption of smart and IoT-enabled AC systems. Consumers increasingly want connected devices. They want app control, usage tracking, maybe predictive diagnostics telling you when a filter needs changing or if there's a problem brewing. Automated energy-saving schedules too. And this tech-forward approach, it isn't just about making life easier. It also crucially supports sustainability goals and helps optimize energy grids, especially within smart homes, by allowing much finer control over energy use.
Yeah, and what's truly transformative there, I think, is how these smart systems are integrating AC into that larger smart home ecosystem. It's not just controlling your AC from your phone anymore. It's about the potential to fundamentally redefine our energy consumption patterns inside our homes, leading to, hopefully, more efficient, more responsive energy grids overall.
Absolutely. Another big shift, and we touched on this earlier when talking about regulations, is that ongoing transition to environmentally friendly refrigerants. Substances like R32, R290, cooler systems, they're steadily replacing the old high GWP ones. This shift is obviously crucial for companies trying to meet global emissions targets, and it also appeals directly to buyers who are more environmentally aware. But it's doing more than just compliance or marketing, it seems. It's actually sparking a lot of fundamental innovation in areas like compressor efficiency and overall AC system design, really pushing the boundaries of what these systems can do. And finally, a third trend we're seeing is significant growth in portable and hybrid cooling solutions. Portable ACs, window units, those kinds of things, even hybrid models that might combine evaporative cooling with traditional AC. These are gaining popularity, especially with urban renters, people in smaller spaces, or more budget-conscious consumers. They offer flexibility, they're generally more affordable upfront, and installation is quick. That makes them pretty ideal for modern urban living or temporary situations where putting in central air just isn't practical or even desired. It's a very practical solution for a dynamic world. And well, that brings us toward the end of this deep dive into the air conditioning equipment market. It's pretty clear the sector is undergoing a really profound transformation. You've got global warming driving basic needs, smart home tech changing how we interact with it, major regulatory shifts forcing innovation, and the market responding. We've definitely moved far beyond just cooling a room. We're talking about an industry that's now reshaping public health, infrastructure, energy systems, and yeah, even our daily routines.
Indeed. It really underscores that AC isn't just another household appliance anymore. It's rapidly becoming, you could argue, a geopolitical factor. It influences energy security, social stability, urban development. So considering how essential AC is becoming truly essential for so many twos, what does this ongoing evolution really mean for, say, urban planning in hot climates, for managing global energy grids under increasing stress, or even just for our day-to-day lives and comfort levels in the decades ahead? It's definitely a question worth mulling over as these powerful technological and environmental shifts keep unfolding all around us.